So this is gonna sound dramatic, but YouTube changed my life. Just point blank, what happened. And it continues to change my life. Like, I've been on YouTube for a long time, and I feel like the first time it changed my life was back in 2017-ish. But it continues to change my life, which is the really powerful part of it. And like I say, that may sound super freaking traumatic, but I swear it did. Okay, so if you don't know my story, I started on YouTube before being like a full-time YouTuber or a full-time creator was a thing. Like, I started on YouTube to be able to use the YouTube videos to make my blog post have better SEO. Like, that's why I started here. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I am actually growing and I'm not even trying. So maybe if I tried, it would be even better. And so I started trying, and here we are 7 years later. And it's funny because I've always had main character energy. Like, when I was in dance classes when I was little, nobody would want to be in the front row, and I was like, yes, I volunteer as tribute. Or I cheerleaded and was always like wanting to be in the front, or like whatever the scenario was. I've always had a bit of main character energy. And while I almost put off YouTube because I had gained like 15 pounds from where I was before, which, by the way, if I had put off YouTube until I lost the weight, I'd still have not done YouTube. But while I almost put it off, I knew that it was something different that not everybody was doing. And at the time, especially in like the business world, like not everybody was on YouTube trying to like teach business things. So I was going to set myself apart, right? And that's like exactly what happened. Boy, did things change from that point on. BT dubs, I usually try and move my camera around my office and like do the things, but this is the only angle where there's not a bunch of crap right now. Like, literally, like, look at there's like a C-stand here, and then there's like a bunch of stuff on my desk. So, this is like the only angle where you're gonna get today. With just about 1,000 to 1,700 subscribers, literally my business and my life changed. That was the moment, or that was the time frame, I guess I should say, where people started taking me seriously, where people were like, wow, she has 1,700 YouTube subscribers. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it was at the time. And also, like, most people start on YouTube and get like 20 subscribers and then never grow really past that point. So not only were like external people starting to take me seriously, but this was the point when I also went to get some like actual hands-on advice. And I went to an event by Tim Schmoyer. I've talked about this before. Okay, wait, I'm going to circle. Say hi, say hi, say hi, say hi, say hi. Right back there. And I had all kinds of good advice for my channel, but that wasn't why I went to the event. I went to the event to position myself as an expert, to be able to say, like, I know what I'm doing with YouTube, to be able to connect with these other like powerful, people in the YouTube space. And 2 of the experts at that event had me speak on their stages within a few years. With just like 1,500 or 1,700 subscribers, like everything changed. I had more authority in the space. I was actually seen as someone who knew what they were talking about. And then as I continued to grow, that grew, but so did my income, my confidence, and I was further and further expanding the gap between the people who were doing all of the like easier things as creators or marketers, like Instagram or whatever, and the people who were doing things like YouTube. I was like making that gap wider. And honestly, most importantly, I found out that I loved YouTube, that I loved creating content, that creating content is something that lights me up and makes me excited and makes me want to do it more and makes me want to like get more creative and do the things and like all of this stuff, right? So I kind of glazed over the income part a second ago, but when I started on YouTube is literally the moment things changed. I've had a couple of like moment things have changed moments in my life. And one of them was when I started taking my business like more seriously. And I actually was trying to make money versus just trying to like pay for groceries or gas or like whatever. But the second one of those moments was when I started getting traction on YouTube, and it had absolutely nothing to do with AdSense. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Nada. I was starting to find a rhythm where I could promote my own things, promote my freebies, promote affiliates, all of this stuff, and make way more money than I was with way less effort versus other things. So example, up until the point where I started YouTube for about a year and a half, when I was like really starting to grow my business and being in the online space, I was like feet to the ground on Facebook groups and being a podcast guest and, going live with people on Facebook or like whatever the scenario was. And back in the day, it was mostly Facebook, right? And I was like grinding to get this done. People would post in Facebook groups at the time and like have like a thread where you could share your opt-in or your offers or whatever. And I was constantly like making sure I was in there doing that. I was rarely seeing any like benefit to that. Like it rarely happened that I was like, oh, sharing that thing in that group really got me a lot of new leads, And then when I started on YouTube, it was so easy to get leads. I would pop up a video, I would talk about something, I would point them to a freebie, I would get leads, like hundreds of them sometimes. And now thousands of them or whatever per month. Or if, I was in one of those Facebook groups and I was like smoozing people and trying to do the thing, and I was spending so much time and effort in there doing that and promoting my offers and like whatever else, and I could just mention them on a YouTube video and people would buy. And I think a lot of it's because you have more authority if you're like on the camera. Like you're gonna get to know me way faster, way quicker, way whatever, talking back and forth like this. So you're gonna trust my opinion way quicker than you would if I was just like typing to you on the internet. And so because everything was just easier. It was easier to get leads. It was easier to make sales. It was easier to get people to affiliate links. All of these things, even in the very beginning, I was seeing a massive uptick, a massive upward trajectory in my income from the jump with YouTube. So pre-YouTube, pre like taking my business seriously, before 2015, I was making like $10,000 a year. Yeah, it was nothing. And then 2015, I made 30. And then 2016, I made 60. And 2016 is actually the year I started on YouTube, but I wasn't really monitoring it or trying or doing anything like that. 2017, I was on track to make the same amount of money that year, like 60,000, 65,000, something like that. And then that's when I realized that YouTube was doing well for me and I wasn't even trying. So what would happen if I actually put in the effort? And I started putting in the effort. That's when I went to that intensive, and literally from the point of putting in the effort mid-year, it changed the trajectory of my income. And that year I made $100,000 in the business, which was huge, huge. In 2015, when I set out to like grow my business, which has drastically changed, by the way. If you're watching this and you're like, what is the business? What was the business? It's drastically changed from what it was then. But when I set out to grow the business in 2015, it was because I was not about to go get a regular 9-to-5 job. And I was on the cusp of having to do that because my kids were getting of school age. 2015, I had a 2-year-old, and then I did have a kid in school. And so we were looking down the barrel of me having to go get a regular job. And I was like, heck no, not this girl. So my goal at that point was just to make what I could make pretty much at any like entry level job, because at this point I was 27. I only had 3 years of like corporate work experience under my belt. I did have a degree, but I knew that I would only get like probably an entry level job somewhere. And so my goal was to make like $35,000 or $40,000 a year so that I would not have to go get a regular job. So to say I went from that to $100,000 a year before my little one went to kindergarten, that's huge. And by the way, none of this had anything to do with AdSense. I know I said that a second ago, but none of it did. Nothing. Zero. Nada. Not one thing to do with AdSense. Yes, I started making AdSense money, but it was very minimal. And it really was like a tiniest sliver of the pie compared to the other income streams. Now, fast forward to today. And the way that YouTube has changed my life now and is changing my life now is a little bit different. Like, yeah, the income is still there. Yes, I still am like, confident on camera, which makes marketing and doing the online things way easier because most people are not. And it's kind of the world we live in now and whatever. Yes, I get asked to speak at conferences and I have more authority and people know who I am. But the biggest thing for me now is that, and I mentioned this a second ago, but I didn't elaborate on it because I was purposefully waiting, is that I love it. I love to create content, and I found the thing that I love that lights me up and makes me excited to do the work that I do. So whereas a few years ago, YouTube was just a method or a tool to help me get to other goals, now YouTube is the job. YouTube is the job. I want YouTube to be the job. I love being a content creator and a full-time YouTuber and like all the things so much that I've completely changed my business model to make it fit that scenario. I love taking out my camera and filming the things and, going and doing like weird content in town like I did in that last video, or doing really cool video ideas. I have a couple of really cool ones coming up soon. I love working with brands. I love promoting affiliates, and I still am selling my own stuff because obviously, but it led me to a path of, oh my gosh, okay, pre-YouTube, I was a web designer, I was a graphic designer, I taught like techie things to business owners, I was really teaching like marketing and strategy, and I still do that now, but now YouTube is the job, and those things just come with the job. Actually, just yesterday, I went and talked to a group of kids. So the community college where I'm at partners with the high school, and they were doing these like career connection breakfasts, and they invited me and I signed up for a couple of them because I know that most people at those are going to be someone representing like a company here, right? Like the bank or the utilities companies or like whatever. And I will always like to try and provide a fresh perspective. And I was telling one of the kids yesterday, like, I wish someone would have told me that this was a thing when I was their age, which it wasn't a thing. YouTube wasn't even invented until I was a senior in high school, I think, somewhere around that same time. And so being a creator was never a thing. Like, that was not a real thing. But I do wish somebody would have showed me and told me that being an entrepreneur was a thing, because that was a thing. But, that's neither here nor there. I think it's so funny because I'll go and I'll talk to middle schoolers. So every year I do the middle school career fair. So 7th and 8th graders. And they, number one, they think me being a YouTuber is really freaking cool, because it is, but they appreciate how cool it is, But a lot of them want to be YouTubers. Like at that age, a lot of them want to be YouTubers. A lot of them are like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber, or I want to be something that is like YouTube adjacent. By the time I go talk to high schoolers, that's gone. Because I think most people at the high school level have had someone tell them that that's not possible. That it's not possible to make a full-time living being a YouTuber. Y'all, I have 2 full-time employees. I pay myself a salary. I'm doing okay, And I can guarantee you that I'm making way more money as a YouTuber than I would be if I was out here working at a regular job. With my degree, with my experience, doesn't matter. And so it drives me nuts that people are telling these kids that they can't do stuff like this, and by the time they get to high school and by the time they get to be like juniors and seniors in high school, there's so many of them who probably actually do want to be a YouTuber, or something like it, like a photographer, like whatever. But that's been like knocked out of their heads so much that they're like, oh, well, there's no money in it, or that's silly, or whatever. And so they pursue something else. And so getting to do this thing where I get to, film videos, and I get to edit videos, and I get to do the thing, and I get to have employees, and I get to sell whatever I want to sell, and I get to work with brands that I love, and I get to do all of this stuff, right? Not only lights me up inside, it also provides the ability for me to then, if I want to start another business, I can. Or if I want to have another business, I can. So for instance, I have a local marketing agency that is separate from my YouTube-ness, right? But my YouTube-ness allowed me to be able to do that, both monetarily and my authority. People come to me more to do their social media here locally or their marketing here locally because of my authority than they would someone who doesn't have that. Not that we have a lot of those people here, but And then if I want to, I can use the money I make doing this to start other businesses. Last year we bought a chunk of land to put a studio on and possibly put like rental office spaces on. This afforded me the ability to do that, which that will help me in retirement. So yeah, YouTube changed my life. I found something that I absolutely love. I was able to make money doing something I absolutely love. It helped me make more money than I could have made without it. And I guess this is just my love letter to YouTube, but also my like PSA to you that if you'll stick with it, if you'll do the things, if you'll be consistent, you'll be making a video where you're like, wow, YouTube changed my life. I can't believe this.